Do you need to have a degree in order to teach Bible stuff online? Of course not. Should you have a degree to teach Bible stuff online? Also, of course not. If you have a degree in something, if you went to formal education for theological stuff, that is going to be a plus, but that is not a make or break point for anything. The reason why is because we live in a very different world than existed even 50 years ago. Where 50 years ago, some of the only ways to get an education was formally. While people who were autodidactic still existed, and these people have existed for all of time, it was less common because the resources available were just simply not as prevalent. So before I even start to explain this, I want you to first hear me very clearly on the entire point of this video. Education matters very much. Formal education is not any better than autodidacticism. See, having a degree is something that society typically looks at and they think, hey, they have a degree, that means they are smart. But that's just not the case. What a degree really says is that you paid an immense amount of money and you went to college. That is the only thing it definitively says. It doesn't mean that you're smart. It means that you've received an education, but it doesn't mean that you actually absorbed or learned any of it. In fact, 60% of medical doctors admit to cheating their way through college. And that's pretty prevalent to see in today's society when we have tons of people, like hundreds of thousands of people who die every single year from taking their own properly prescribed medication, taking it exactly how it was prescribed, the exact medication prescribed, but the doctor incorrectly prescribed it. To be more specific with that, it is between 100,000 and 250,000 people every single year that die as a result of a doctor messing up what they're prescribing a patient. And that's for deaths. Whenever you look into people just having extreme bad injuries from the wrong prescriptions, that number goes well up into the 400,000s. Even higher than that are the amount of people who die from unnecessary surgeries every year, in which a study from Johns Hopkins put out saying that there's approximately 795,000 deaths or severe, like permanent paralysis, major injuries that result every year from people doing a surgery that was not necessary. Now, I'm picking on doctors with this simply because that is what most people would look at as the smartest among us. But they mess up just the same amount as anyone else would. So someone having a formal education in theology, that's a good thing, but it does not mean that's the only way to get a good education in theology. For example, we have today one of the most amazing gifts that God has ever given us, which is access to basically all of the world's information in this tiny little device that sits in our pocket. You can literally take entire seminary courses on YouTube for free. Or for example, Apologia Studios, through their All Access program, they offer for free for anybody the entirety of Bonson University, which is a full seminary education for free online. We're basically able to get any book that we've ever wanted to read on our phone in a PDF that we could do for free. We have Audible with hundreds of thousands of titles. We have even more audiobooks on YouTube or on Spotify. We have audiobooks everywhere. We have physical books everywhere. We are not restricted to going to college and getting a formal education in order to be well educated in a subject. So it kind of boils down to let the person's actual words, let the person's actual content influence whether or not they are to be listened to. Rather than someone saying that they have a degree in theological doctrine of some kind and then going on to consistently claim that the Bible is wrong, that the Bible has errors, that the Bible has no prophecies, that the Bible never has any kind of things commanded in it. And if you're picking up on what I'm putting down, Dan McClellan likes to put out a very consistent message at the beginning of most of his videos telling you that he is a Bible scholar. Then he goes on to say things that the average 4-year-old knows is not accurate about the Bible. And that's that kind of plea to authority, except it's not even an outside authority. They're trying to plead to the authority of themselves being educated and having that degree. But no matter how many degrees you get and how educated you are, that will never make you wise. Wisdom is far more important than having a piece of paper saying that you passed tests and paid a lot of money. So is it good to have a formal education? Absolutely. Is it just as good to be autodidactic? Yes. It's actually a lot cheaper. So for example, I don't have any formal theological training. In fact, the only formal training I have, the only formal education I have is because I needed a license in order to do the job that I currently do. I'm an injury massage therapist. So I had to go to school. I had to go to a massage college. It was a trade school, not a university, and I had to go there in order to get a license. I had to be certified to work on people. However, I taught myself basically everything that they taught me that would actually matter or stick with me to this day prior to going to school. Muscular anatomy, kinesiology, everything that I would need for my job, I taught myself prior to going to that school by myself using YouTube. And to this day, I still know gross anatomy better than most doctors. Do doctors know cellular anatomy much better than I do? Of course, they know a lot more different subjects, but whenever it comes to a specific thing, I was able to teach myself that fully better than most doctors are educated formally on that subject. And so with me, the reason why I'm an expert in the Bible is because I've read the Bible so many times that I literally have no idea how many times I've read it. For example, a couple years ago, I read the New Testament 6 times in one single week. I have no idea how many times I've read the Bible cover to cover. I have no idea how many times I've read just the Old Testament, just the New Testament. I have no idea anymore. All I know is that because I've read it so much, I am very, very well versed in what it says. Does that mean that I know everything about it? Of course not. I'm still learning every day, which is why I'm reading it every day. It's because I consistently get to learn new things about God, and that blows my mind. It astounds me, and I love it. But just because someone has a degree, that doesn't mean that they're smarter than someone who doesn't have a degree. It simply means that they paid a lot of money for a piece of paper, and that is the only guarantee that a degree will actually show, is that someone paid a lot of money and they have a piece of paper. Because you don't need formal training to be an apologist. You don't even need formal training to be a pastor. While I think that it's more important in the position of a pastor to have formal training, it's not necessary. For example, my third favorite pastor, his name is John Lovell. He never went to seminary, and he is theologically sound consistently. It's because he's read the Bible so many times. It's because he was working as a missionary teaching the Bible for so long. It's because he's read so many different books on theology that you can get that education by yourself. The same reason why Charlie Kirk has a book on why college is a scam. Being autodidactic is a wonderful thing. Formal education is a wonderful thing. Neither of them are above the other. So this goes back to kind of like twisting what Martin Luther King once said, where he said that you should not judge a person by the color of the skin, but the content of their character. You should not judge someone based on the piece of paper that they paid money for. Rather, you should judge them on their ability to actually express their intelligence and their wisdom. Wisdom being far more important than an education, and wisdom being gifted from God.